All right, we're going to get to more on Houston here in a second, but because we have JWill joining us this morning on SportsCenter, we got to focus in a little bit more on Duke. You doing okay? You all right today?
No, Shay. Honestly, with a lot of friends though last night, it's the fifth largest deficit comeback in the history of the NCAA tournament. So no, today it's not a great morning for some Duke people, but in general, it's a great morning for Houston. So I give them all the props in the world. What a great game.
Okay, correct. What a great game. Let's zoom in on each of these. We'll start with the Duke side of it all. They only had one field goal in the last 10 minutes. I don't need to tell you this. What happened to Duke down the stretch, Jay?
Shay, I got lucky to be a part of one of the largest comeback in Final Four history against Maryland when we were down 22. And one of the reasons we were able to come back in that game is because we had so many games throughout the course of the regular season where we were uncomfortable in really big moments. And that comes with reps. That comes with experience. That comes with knowing your teammates and how they react in those situations. And one of the things we talked a lot about Duke throughout the course of the season was that they didn't have a lot of experience in uncomfortable moments. So yes, this is a young basketball team with a young core, but they had veterans on their team as well. But you felt the game pressure in those minutes, the final minutes of the game. And, look, we talked about this with John Calipari down the stretch about inbounding the ball. Sion James really not running the baseline, really not passing the ball with intentionality. Sometimes when you get tight, Shay, you short arm a pass instead of actually following through. Instead of throwing the ball towards a target, you try to place it at a target. And I think you saw Duke finish the game in a very young manner. And that talks about how difficult it is to win a national championship. And now, look, I'm not going to take anything away from Houston. They took that game, but Duke definitely had a major part in giving them that game back.
Okay, you talk about how Duke was tight at the end of the game. In the beginning of the game, even Kelvin Sampson said it. He felt like his Houston Cougars were tight to start the game, but they were able to finish it. So now let's flip this. What did you see out of Houston down the stretch that was really impressive?
I just saw a team that kept coming. They were relentless. They did not stop. It didn't matter if they were down 14. And that's the sign of a veteran team. L.J. Cryer had been to a Final Four. He had won a national championship before. The three that Emmanuel Sharp took was a massive three. And you got to give Jerome Roberts a lot of credit this morning. A guy who was not a great free throw shooter, Kelvin Sampson, told an incredible story last night about how they forced him to take 150 free throws a day. And the confidence for him to go to the free throw line when they were down one and make two was it was incredible to watch. And I think you're watching a team that is very secure with who they are and how they react in big moments. And for them, they kept cutting down the tree one chop at a time. That's how you have comebacks. You don't get a comeback in one shot. You get a comeback in a series of plays. And Houston made the series of plays down the stretch when it mattered the most.
Yeah, no doubt. Kelvin Sampson said, we're never going to quit. And my goodness, was that true. 14-point blown lead, the largest in any game under John Shire. JWill up late and then up early. We appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Florida's Walter Clayton Jr. continues to amaze everyone who watches him out there on the floor. Dropped 34 points, 20 of those in the second half. Jay, who's another tournament legend that he reminds you of?
Well, look, the name of the segment is called The Hot Ticket, right? And Walter Clayton Jr., obviously averaging 24.5 points per game, is the hot ticket. I want to take you all the way back to 2011. I watched this guy from New York. His name was Kemba Walker, who had an electrifying Big East tournament, went on one of the most miraculous runs I've ever seen, and it just translated from the Big East tournament right to the NCAA tournament, to a Final Four win, to a national championship win. This is the type of run that I'm seeing Walter Clayton Jr. on. I came on SportsCenter about a month ago, and I said, I'm not saying he is Steph Curry, but he reminds me so much of how Steph Curry plays because there's a wizardry to his game. He takes shots off balance, he's unorthodox in his approach, and he's not afraid to try things in the middle of the game. To see the way he played last night, to have 34 of the team's 79 points, he is one of the most special players we have in the game of basketball, college basketball today. And I do believe after Cooper Flagg, you will hear Walter Clayton Jr.'s name called with the second pick in the NBA draft. He's having that type of run.
Yeah, with the way that Walter Clayton Jr. is playing, I have no problem with that Steph Curry comparison at all. Well, Florida hasn't seen a defense like Houston's, best defense in the country, holding opponents to about 58 points per game. How equipped are the Cougars to slow down that Gators offense?
Well, look, the one guy you can't let win the game, Amina, is Walter Clayton Jr. So I think you're going to see them blitz him a ton. And also in the Duke game, Duke lost Houston's guards multiple times on the perimeter, okay? Houston never lost Duke guards, okay? The Duke guards lost Houston guards. So this Houston team is very disciplined, and they are one of the best in the country at executing the scouting report. And the primary focal point of the scouting report against Florida is to not let Walter Clayton Jr. beat you. So you will see them throw a variety of blitzes, of traps, keeping him on one side of the floor and staying attached in his pocket, not on his pocket, in his pocket, Amina, to not give him any room to breathe. So the other players, the Will Richards, the Elijah Martins, they will need to make the plays for Florida to win this game. But you will not see Walter Clayton Jr. beat Houston on Monday night.
Our coach Seth Greenberg with us now from San Antonio. And Coach, Duke has been so used to dominating conference opponents over the past couple of months. But we have to remember, Cooper Flagg really is only a freshman. How much of this is just simply inexperience in close games?
Game pressure is real, and that's exactly what they experience. When we talk about Cooper Flagg being young, he's an 18-year-old freshman National Player of the Year. But if you haven't been in those situations with the game on the line, you're going to have to make plays. Look, part of it was Duke's struggle offensively, and part of it was what Houston did defensively. Part of it was Duke not being able to get the ball inbounds. Part of it was Houston knocking down big threes. Part of it was Duke not being able to finish possession with a rebound. And part of it was the relentlessness of this Houston team. So you look at the breakdown down the stretch. I mean, the last 11 minutes and 50 seconds to only score 11 points and to be able to not get the ball in bounds, not finish possessions, not locate sharp for an open three. Give up 10 threes in this game. The only way Houston was going to win this game is if they could knock down threes, and they knocked down 10 of them. So a really tough way to lose. Duke's had a magical season, a generational team, but you can't simulate this Houston intensity, will, competitive spirit as you prepare to play them, because all of a sudden, bam, they are relentless for 40 minutes.
Yeah, I said this to JWill earlier. We talk about how Duke got tight down the stretch. Calvin Sampson said his team was tight to start the game, and then obviously that came around as the game went on. Well, now the Houston Cougars have a date with Florida in the title game on Monday night. And this is going to be a whole new challenge for the Gators. They have not seen a defense like Houston's before. How worried should this Gators team be?
Well, look, you're playing for a national championship. I think they should be worried. I think Houston should be worried. But when you play against Houston, you can't simulate what they do defensively in your preparation. You can't simulate the traps of the ball screen. You can't simulate the traps in the post. You can't simulate the relentlessness of their ability to be connected, keep you on the perimeter, and force a contested shot. You can't simulate the physicality and their ability to get to the offensive glass. So it takes a settling in period to play against this Houston team. But you can't just do it for 4 minutes. You can't do it for 14 minutes. You got to do it for 40 minutes. But there's a guy on this Florida team, he's not bad either, because Walter Clayton went all Kemba Walker, and Walter Clayton is a problem no matter who he's playing against.
Oh, so looking forward to this on Monday. But if we know one thing for certain, we're not going to know what's going to happen after the first half. Houston's so good in the second half. Florida knows how to close games. It's going to be a battle from start to finish. Seth Greenberg, thank you.